They're going to kill the love of my life.
Casey!
If I don't go back to what I was doing.
Our line of work is quite brutal and quite ruthless.
How far would you go for love?
You steal truck, bring it to me. Then you make your money.
Is it dangerous?
Of course it's dangerous!
Nicholas Hoult, Felicity Jones, with Ben Kingsley and Anthony Hopkins.
All this trouble, all this pain, for love.
Collide. Now playing. Rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning. This is your host, Llorraine Neithardt, and you've reached Heartbreak Hotel, your virtual Heartbreak Hotel, and Venus Unplugged. And today, well, let me do the to me, the less important, but it is important. You know, if you want to sign up on Blog Talk Radio, the episode will be sent to you, and then you can download it anytime you want and listen to it, or go on my website, LorraineNeithardt.com, where you can download it from there. There will also be the archives of talks that you haven't heard from last year. You can download those. And if you want to set up an appointment or call, 212-757-8914. Okay, that was the reality check. Today, I am going to look at and share with you the consciousness of laughter, particularly because the next couple of days it's some nasty energy going on. And I've been feeling it all week long. You know, people are building up to some real suffering, and without a sense of humor, we're going to have a lot of cat fights now, okay? And, of course, I am still in the middle of, and deep in the middle of my grief about my beloved Faith departing to the next dimension. And so I know this suffering is going to be with me for a long time. And the opposite of this kind of suffering is humor. You know, we've been given this incredible gift of laughter. And what is it about? And how can it heal? Not laughing at something, but with something. Like the heart of laughter that's in the center of all of life when we can look at things properly. So I was going to think, oh, well, you know, let's talk about the anger diet. You know, Brenda Shoshona, she's got this great book. I found it actually last year. And then I thought, no. Enough with the consciousness and the anger and all of that for at least today, because we're going to be seeing so much of it for the next couple of days. Venus is vexed. And so let's talk about cultivating and remembering humor, laughter. Now, one of the interesting things about, you know, the things we really laugh at, the belly laughs, always filled with shadow. Because we see the truth of it, we're horrified on one level, and then we bust out laughing on another level, because we know the dangerous wisdom that's in it, and there's nothing else we can do. So if there's someone who has got a great sense of humor, call them. Go out and have tea or a glass of wine or do something that will bring, as a matter of fact, stay home. Don't go out. Stay home for the next couple of days and just have a party. With people who have a good sense of humor. Not that meanie girl stuff. Not that, because I don't believe that's humor, laughing at someone. And most of all, not laughing, you can laugh at yourself, just because being human is pretty hilarious. But not degrade yourself. That kind of humor has never appealed to me because, you know, when someone is degrading themselves, you know, it breaks my heart because it's like, wow, they're really offending their sacredness. They don't have to do that. They don't have to. I mean, becoming a fool, a divine fool, is one thing. You can play something out. And the most dangerous people, let's say in the American Indian tradition, the Hyoka, who's the fool, the jokester, the laughter, and he acts like a fool and everything. But believe me, that's the most dangerous one because that's truly such a heightened level of consciousness. And most beings that really kind of reach a level, whatever that level may be, they usually have a wicked sense of humor because they can see through it. And we laugh. Sometimes we don't even know what we're laughing at, but yet we all know. So that's what we're starting to look at. And if you don't have a friend to share laughter with, or the absurdity of our egos and our humanness, then just watch some fabulous movies, whatever make you laugh. One time, oh God, this was 15 years ago, I was on a plane, and I think it was coming back from England, I don't remember, and they had these old, Pink Panther movies. So I'm watching those, and I was laughing out loud so hard that twice the attendant had to come, and first, people wanted to know what I found so funny, because it was, and then second, they just were annoyed that I was having a good time all by myself, just laughing at Peter Sellers and the Pink Panther. So do that. And I know this place, because I also know this place of this grief. But there's great wisdom in it. There's great power in it. It's not just the sorrow. So, feeling the sorrow deeply, but feeling the joy and the laughter. And, Venus, Aphrodite, she's the golden one. She's the laughing one. She always finds something to forgive us humans for, which is everything. So rather than, and there are times that we should go right into the heart of the darkness through consciousness, because shadow always comes through laughter. Either that, or you're getting out your Glock and you're going to shoot somebody with it. Okay, so the laughter, so it's impossible in some ways to define what we call a sense of humor, and yet maybe by playing around with it in our imagination, we can bring to light a little of the wonder, and it's a mystery of the divine and this human gift of laughter. There's an old saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And man, is that one true? It's like, yeah, sure, you're going to do that, okay, but you can't. So a sense of humor, in one sense, it's the only divine quality of man, or so the philosopher Schopenhauer says, okay? Now, humor itself is a word of many meanings. In the Middle Ages, through the Renaissance, it meant, among other things, one of the four principal body fluids that determine the human disposition and health. So these were called the humors, okay? Sanguine, which is like the serious, acidic type, okay? And the phlegm, okay, so that's people who get a lot of phlegm, and the caloric and the melancholic. So these are different humors, structures that go into the body. And one person has like a more serious, people who are lymphatic usually have some weight, or the lymph goes slowly. So those are called the humors. Okay, so that's in the physical. So it's any clear or transparent fluid such as blood, lymph, or bile. Those are called the humors. Okay. Now, in the American Heritage Dictionary, when I look up laughter, or humor, actually, it's the quality of being laughable or comical, a state of mind, a mood, a spirit, a sudden unanticipated whim. The root of the word, the Latin word humor, umar, U-M-O-U-R, meaning liquid or fluid. So that's what's so interesting when you start looking up words. You really get a sense of their origin. That's what etymology is. It's the origin. Where do these words come from? Okay. And so this word humor, therefore, on all levels is something that flows. It resembles water itself and symbolizes the movement of the unconscious forces gradually evolving into basic characteristics of the individual human being, which expresses themselves in the body, in moods and emotions and reactions, in qualities of feeling, of mind, and of spirit. So a sense of humor, in some ways, is more elusive, right? It's a sense. After mentioning the five senses we share with the animals, and continues, it's an intuitive, or it's an acquired perception, or the ability to estimate, which is the sense of timing. So people can have a brilliant comedic timing. They just know when to say what they say, and it's the timing that can make it so hilarious, right? And it's a capacity to appreciate or understand a sense of humor. It's a recognition or a perception either through the senses or the intellect. So the humors, or the sense of humor, okay, it's unconscious drives or reactions. But without consciousness, there's no sense of humor. However much we may enjoy jokes and absurdities, it's especially interesting that the kind of the sense or perception defined as a capacity to appreciate and understand is what a sense of humor is about. So once again, it's not laughing at, it's with, it's through. It's the grand folly that we are all part of, right? And also, this kind of humor, it's an appreciation, it's an understanding at the heart of things. What's really going on? You know, we're in this together, and we share this together. Or when you have a friend that your bond is laughter and joy, you'll always tell the most tragic tales, but you'll be laughing hysterically because you know how deeply painful it is, and it's the only way to hold it. And if we can be in that state where we know this great suffering and its opposite, the thing that will pulverize it, the thing that will help the grief flow through us, is the humor, the laughter. That has great power in it. And when we can get an insight into our natural absurdities or our uptightness or whatever we have, okay? Now, word of warning, I learned this the very, very, very hard way through life experience. Narcissists have no sense of humor about themselves. I'm going to repeat this. Narcissists have no sense of humor about themselves. I learned this about 20 years ago. I had bought, what I thought was a funny card, and I don't even remember what it was about, but it was completely and utterly absurd. And I bought two of them for two completely different people. Now, there was a flash, and I thought, I don't know if this, I know my one friend would just be on the floor laughing. And the other one, it kind of went through like, actually, I don't know her sense of humor that well. But, I went ahead and sent it anyway. Well, but did I pay for that one dearly? She thought she didn't get the humor, and she took it literally. And there was nothing I could say that it was a joke, and there was no hidden bard, because, I'm pretty straightforward. If I got something to say, I'm going to say it to your face, because I want to see your eyes. I want to see what this is about. I want to be present for this. Okay, I'm not a passive-aggressive person. I'm assertive in the sense of, no, stand up and, be counted for. It's not about winning or losing. It's just about authenticity. So needless to say, that's when I found out that, she had a very deep narcissistic wound. Remember, narcissism is a wound. It's a living wound. And they don't have a sense of humor. Although we laugh at them a lot, like on radio sitcoms, television sitcoms, and all of that, when the narcissist comes in and they have no sense of humor, everybody laughs because we all recognize that. They don't see what's funny, but we do. So, most people, just as a little warning about that, that's how we find out when you say a joke and they don't. Now, of course, there are jokes that are conceived, and there are jokes that are really hidden barbs. You really want to attack, but you do it in a funny way. That's not a sense of humor. That's just being nasty. Okay, so the sense of humor that I'm talking about is that warm, flowing energy in the center of your heart, in the center of your being. It's almost like when you hear children laughing, or when you hear children playing, they do sing-song. You know, they la-da-da-da, back and forth they tell. And they've got this sing-song quality. Or walk by a playground and just listen to the children. They're in this flow. They're playing. They're aware. Something is going on for them, okay? So we want to look at the essential difference between a sense of humor and mere reactions to any kind of comical situation. All such things may include laughter, whether we have a real sense of humor or not, but the quality of the laughter is very different in those who appreciate and understand. Those without this kind of perception do not penetrate to the laughter. That's in the center of things. So there are many, many types of humor. I'm talking about the heart joy. Once again, Venus, the golden one, the laughing one. She's the goddess that forgives the most. She's very fond of humanity. Because the next couple of days she's a little vexed, so you got to be aware. So maybe in serving the joy and the laughter, and to help remember how healing that is, that can help us in the next couple of days. Why we're facing a lot of stuff, okay? And also remember in the story of Eros and Psyche, which is on the blog. I did that this year, at the beginning of this year. I think that will be on the blog. I don't think it's on Blog Talk Radio anymore. And listen to that. Was like a good 7 episodes. But in the end, after all these trials and tribulations, Psyche gives birth to joy, which is a huge insight. It's a huge archetypal insight that it's the foretelling that we can enter a stage of joy in our life and be part of the laughter. Now, there are many kinds of laughter, and it often conceals bitterly destructive rejection or contempt. We're not talking about that. Because when we yield to that, we are cut off altogether from a sense of humor that always strengthens the compassion in which all pains and joys become whole. Hurt vanity, yours or another's, like that person that I sent the card to that did not have a sense of humor about herself, took it literally, and she went on a witch hunt. And I learned that narcissists have no sense of humor about themselves. Now, if we use humor and for personal resentments or anger or humiliations, no. Or because it kind of demands change from other people, no, they're not going to do that. You know, or the people will tease us and they think they're being funny, but it's really a bard. That's not funny. And you could say not funny or ouch. We don't have to give big, long explanations, just ouch. And if they don't stop, walk away. Okay. Now, if people have like hurt vanities, okay, resentments, these are the antics of an inflated or deflated ego. And they can be accepted with pain and known also as occasions for laughter that heals. But, you know, when people are too inflated or deflated, victimization is a deflation, which is the opposite of inflation, but they're one and the same coin. Because the victim demands that. Now, I'm not talking about situations of true victimization. I'm talking about people who make a lifestyle out of it. Or people who overrate themselves, have no sense of humor about anything. Okay? So a man's fate, the meaning of his individual life on earth, is simply to live fully his own particular small part of the pattern of the whole, whether seemingly great or seemingly ordinary, remaining always blessed, sense of humor, about its importance to ourselves and to others with at least the intention of joy. So if there's an intention of joy, or if we can see or glimpse, or very often when we're retelling a story, there it is, because people begin to laugh. And it's like, well, what are you laughing at? And then you start to see. I mean, Carl Jung was known for his laughter. He had a bombastic laughter, okay? And he could see straight in. You know, he'd see the shadow, and then he'd have a reaction to it, because he was also known for his reactions, you know. He would feel it deeply, and then he'd go work on it, and then he would see what it was about, okay? And that's what individuation is about. Not always solemnly being spiritual. It's like being right in the midst of the mess. Because the one right, probably the only true right we have, is our humanity. So, because Jung, I mean, he was a great explorer of darkness, and he'd consciously enter into this pit of darkness in the unconscious, and just could find, I mean, of course it was after he did his process, or if you see the Red Book, you know, there's a lot of really strange and marvelous dark realities in there, but some of them are hilarious too. So it's like being able to look at the sense of humor, because it's a royal road to freedom, and it's joy, and when we're ready to laugh, you know, we laugh at the pretensions, our own, or in another. It's absurd. And I mean, we certainly, when we see dictators and there's comedy around this, we're laughing because we see the absurdity. We recognize it. So we need to express this, because this is also connecting to the laughter of the child. The divine child within is filled with play and laughter and joy. Now, there is, of course, woundedness, but we want to address that too. It's like, let's go and have some fun. So I want to read you this quote here from my beloved Helen Luke, where she states, there is, in fact, no real spirituality, in parentheses she says, a much misunderstood term in these days, without the laughter that the sense of humor brings. It is not to be confused with being frivolous, and it cannot exist in anyone who is not a serious person able to explore darkness and suffering in life. The lack of this quality in the soul may also reveal itself among those who seek to lighten the solemnness of their religious beliefs by mixing the funny and the serious, making jokes, either silly or embarrassing, about deep realities. The sense of humor, the laughter of the self, never mixes things in that way, thus destroying both the serious and the gay. It simply begets in man and woman a true perception of all the suffering and the joys, the tears and the laughter, the seriousness and the fun, the inherent in our experience. When all these opposites are clearly discriminated, then may we then be known as one of the unity of the laughter of the tragic darkness of being. So what she means by not mixing, so when something's really, truly bitter, I mean, once again, a sense of timing. And we're not going to use humor, although we can use humor to soften something, but not as a double-edged sword, or not at somebody, or certainly not at the expense of anyone. That is not funny. So often, particularly with children, adults may see something funny, okay, but it's really humiliation for the child. I mean, there was this, what was his name, Jimmy Kimmel, and he did this thing. Now, on one level, yeah, I thought it was funny, but it was also too painful for me to watch because it was about, kids. That he asked the parents to tell the children, it's a video running around, that the parents ate their Halloween candy. And the kids were crushed, devastated, screaming and yelling, which that was a little scary. It's like, wow, sugar addicts at 4, amazing. But I also didn't find it was too painful. And it was at the expense of the child, misunderstanding. It's like, that's, do that to your husband. Let's see how funny he finds it. Okay. But for some people that is funny. It wasn't funny for me. Any type of suffering. I don't. I mean, one's own absurdities, when we look at them, that's one thing. So finding, that in the depth of the spirituality, and as I was saying, that people who are, have a high level of consciousness and spirituality usually have a great and deeply human sense of humor, our own folly. But it is poignant, but it doesn't have bards in it. It has wisdom in it. And it's also one of the best ways to present a difficult situation to a person, so that can be softened. Because we, like I said, with the narcissist, they can feel like everything is so damn important about what they're thinking and yet have no awareness of what anybody, trampling other people's dreams. So if you can, part of the task is find that joy. So what did you delight in when you were a child? What made us laugh? Not condemning oneself or others, but simply enjoy. It's like laughter also has something to do with the proportions when things are mixed up and the proportions are wrong, and we laugh. We go like, okay, that's not going to work. That's definitely not going to work. And we laugh. So who are those people that make you laugh? What are the things that make you laugh? Where can you gently and kindly laugh at? Or with, not at. I don't like laughing at. With yourself. When suddenly you realize, what in God's name was I thinking? All right. I think it was in 1997. I'm not good with years. I got it into my head to do some performances at the Kitchen, which is a performance place in New York City. And lo and behold, they allowed me in, and I did one. It was like a talk on envy. Another one was on woman Christ. Another one's on spirit, on money and the spirit and money. Okay, but the first one on envy. So I had never been mic'd before. Okay, and it was a pretty big audience. There was about 700 people there, which I did. I thought 4 of my family members and my best friends would be there. I don't know what I thought. I obviously did not think. Because if I thought, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. So they mic me, and I'm walking down towards the I was going to say altar. Well, that'll show you what I'm thinking. Towards the stage, and I'm hearing this click, 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 and I'm thinking, who's the horse and who's making all that noise? I mean, little did I realize it was me, my high heels. I get up on the stage, and I freeze. I freak. Because there I am. What am I doing up here? And I didn't know what to say. I couldn't remember anything. And the only thing I said was, well, ladies and gentlemen, they say that before you die, you see your whole life go before you. Well, I've got news. The same thing happens right before you're going to perform for the first time. And the audience burst out laughing, and they embraced me, and I was able to fumble through. And so the joy, through the humor, through the honesty, through the naked truth, because I was frozen, the higher self gave me that insight. Everyone in the audience could relate. and then we were off and running. So find the humor, okay? Speak with friends who can see the humor in things. Watch movies, read books. Do something that honors the joy and the laughter in the center of your being, and dedicate it to Venus, the laughing one. So next week, onward and upward, or downward or sideward. Well, I'm not sure which way we're going to go, but I hope you enjoyed this, and laugh just for the sake of laughing. Au revoir.
Progressive presents Mindflowness with Flo.
Before you lies a beautiful meadow. In that meadow, Progressive Direct has placed its auto insurance rates alongside those of competitors. You select the lowest rate and feel a great sense of calm. A great sense of...
Compare Progressive Direct rates with competitors' rates so you can rest easy. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.